What if I told you that there was a certain way that you could approach situations that would make it so that you never ever lost? Like 1,000 times out of 1,000 times, you would have won that situation. Now, it sounds very, obviously, it's something everyone wants to model. And it may sound far-fetched, but it's not. How this works, I'm going to tell you how it's worked for me. And after this, I'll show you how you can employ it into yourself. So, this is a concept I learned today. You know, I'm always learning today. I read a book. I listened to a 30-minute podcast. Stephen Hawking, brief answers to big questions. But anyways, I'll give you an example of this in motion. So, over the past 3 years, I myself have spent almost $10,000 on online courses. $10,000. Now, the money I've made back has equated to that, but profit and predictability has not lived up to what the courses that I bought said they were going to live up to. So, in a sense, right, in a traditional sense, if you looked at it purely on ROI that I was promised I was going to get, I failed. Now, going through this, right, I was trying to justify it in every way possible, as people do, right? As you stick to a decision, you're going to stick to it till the ends of the earth, because at the end of the day, you don't want your precious pride being hurt. That's not, you yourself. It's just human nature. It's how we're built. So my friends, my parents were constantly asking me, because I said, I was going to make this money. I was going to make this in a few months, right? It's going to make thousands of dollars with zero experience in a few months, right? That's super far-fetched. But constantly, my family, my friends, when are you going to make that money, Liam? Have you made that money yet? When are you going to make that money? Now, I myself, I didn't have this mindset before then, and, it was hard not to accept what they were saying, and maybe in a sense I should have. But, and I'm not trying to get all wise and philosophical here, something I preface in every video. If I have good ideas, or if I have ideas that I'm sharing with you, it's because I learned them from great thinkers. At the end of the day, Liam Billick is not a great thinker, but he stands on the giants' shoulders, and that is what makes me. Sometimes, it's obviously subjective. Maybe it's complete and utter rubbish that I'm saying. But if I do say stuff that's wise, it's because I learned it from other people. And before I learned this, I was thinking, wow, I failed this. Wow, I should never do something like this again. I wasted $4,000. I was 16 years old, right? I wasted $4,000. $4,000 for a 16-year-old. That's $1 million for a 20-year-old. And so, the time that I realized this, and thank goodness I did, because at the end of the day, I didn't have the mindset, which I'm going to share right now, but I just stuck to it, and I just stuck to the idea that if I truly thought I couldn't fail, I couldn't fail. Now, that's just an idea. Why this works and how you actually employ this is a little bit different, but I just stuck to the idea. And no matter what, I bought another course, $5,000, right? I believe I got a lot of value out of that. And if I wouldn't, to some extent, it wasn't the value that I said I was going to get again. And the value that I should have got was less than I actually did get, which I'm upset about, but at the same time, I did gain a lot of insights from there. A lot of it was just showing me the path forward in which I practice, and I have a lot of discipline, I have a lot of consistency. I was able to practice that to an extent where I got a lot of value. And so if I would have thought after that $4,000, if I would have thought, I failed, this was, I messed up, I should have listened, I should just give up, I would not be making this video right now, or I probably wouldn't be making this video right now. At all, I wouldn't be making any videos. But I held on to that idea, $5,000, ton of knowledge, ton of insights, and it's bringing me to where I am today. And I do believe that was all in a positive direction. Now, what was the aha moment that I had? What was the, snap of the fingers, the epiphany that I had to understand this and to employ it with such high efficiency? So, the idea that I'm going to share, and basically what this all comes down to, is the mindset you go into trying new things. You think, I either win or I learn. Now that's cliche, and if you're listening to this and you're closed-minded, you're going to say that sounds cringe. Maybe it is cringe. I truly don't think it is. At the end of the day, my opinion is subjective, but I do like to base everything around logic. And I do think that, saying to yourself, if you go into a situation, you either, you win or you gain experience and wisdom, right? Or you become better at it, or to become better. So there's so much around that, but it all stems down to, in simplicity, I either win or I learn. I either win or I gain experience. And so that's what you yourself have to do. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if you fail miserably, and this was what I learned today that really ties this together. It's experiments. Is at the end of the day, Peter Drucker, Managing Oneself, you can only build upon strength. He has his own little framework of his own, right? It's like the 18-month time frames. You do feedback analysis on yourself, see what went wrong, see what didn't, double down on the things that went right. And so, all in all with that, the idea is to have experiments, to constantly be doing experiments. Now, if you do fail at something, that's okay. But you do have to understand this. If you do fail and you keep doing it and you keep doing what you failed on, then that is truly a failure, right? And you are setting yourself up for, failure, right? At the end of the day, you're not getting any benefit if you keep doing it. Now, a failed experiment, how did he say this? An experiment that has gone on too long than it should is a failure. So you have to learn basically when to stop, right? You have to learn when to cut off an experiment, right? Because an experiment could be good, but at the end of the day, it could be bad. Now, this bad and this connotations behind the word bad. It's funny, in English and really in any vocabulary, there isn't a word besides failure. Now, at the end of the day, right, just like what I'm talking about, you either win or you learn. So I truly believe that there is no failure, but there is literally no word that explains what I am explaining. And across all languages, I've actually done my own research on this. I believe it was Swedish and German have a little bit of a word kind of surrounding the idea of this. But all in all, no language has basically the idea that if you mess up on something, if you fail at something, then it's good, right? And so that's what it comes down to. Experiment. You have to know when to cut it off. You have to be able to step back and analyze. There's a bias. So we as humans have a whole bunch of biases. I don't know the number, like 30, but it's like psychological things that were preempted and pre-programmed. That we're inclined to believe over and over again. There's a storytelling framework. I'm trying to speak at a 3rd grade level, and I really got to, exercise that. Even that, it's probably not 3rd grade level. But anyways, so, as I was saying, went on a little tangent there. Kind of forgot. But at the end of the day, right, you have to be able to step back and truly analyze yourself, and truthfully do it too, right? You can't say, let's say you wanted to try a new diet. Let's say you wanted to become a vegan. At the end of the day, and I say at the end of the day a lot, I gotta spice up my vocabulary. Maybe not. But if you want to become a vegan or try a vegan diet, all the power to you. Me, I love meat, and I think being a vegan is stupid. But at the end of the day, I can't say it's stupid. Who am I to say that something is stupid? Realistically, I should try it, right? I should try it for an acceptable time frame in which I can either see the positive benefits or the negative benefits, be able to step back, truly identify and analyze myself, and say if it was a good idea or not. Now, me right now, as I'm saying this, right, that I think veganism is stupid, I'm falling victim, or I'm in danger of falling victim to the, I don't know what biases is, but basically, like, if you say something, or if you believe in something and you do it, you're going to be way more likely to stick with that just because you yourself said that. And that goes back to what I said about ego before as well. And so we go down this path, but you have to be able to analyze it from a truthful, angle. So with that, right, experiment as much as you can. And that is really the last part of this pillar, the last part of this triangle I'm trying to say. And the concept that I learned, and is bringing together what I learned today with my previous things that I've learned. At the end of the day, our iron sharpens iron. Idea sharpens other ideas. Ideas make your other ideas more powerful. And so, the third thing, experiment. At the end of the day, we're just one person in, whatever you believe in. But for thousands, tens of thousands of years, we are one person in a speck. We are a speck in the grand scheme of things. Now, this isn't to get nihilistic. This isn't to say that everything is useless, because your life is your life, right? Make it what you want to make it. But in the grand scheme of things, what are we? We're a speck of dust. Unless you have major impact, you're going to be forgotten by, the last people who are going to remember you are the people that held you dear. So what does it matter if you try something? What does it matter if you have an experiment? It fails. Maybe you have some embarrassment. At the end of the day, it's mostly just you and yourself, right? If you try something and it doesn't work, you know yourself, damn, that failed. That felt sucky. But then you can step out, analyze, and say, was this good or not? Now, maybe the embarrassment will be further outward, right? It'll be socially. The reason or fear of embarrassment is social outcast, right? That's something evolutionary psychology. Learning that. David Buss, trying to learn every single day. 1% smarter, 1% wiser. Warren Buffett, go to bed. 1% wiser, 1% smarter. So you're scared of becoming a social outcast, but there's so many other things to that too. Unless you do something to extremely embarrass yourself, nobody's gonna remember what you did, right? In high school, there have been so many times that people have majorly embarrassed themselves, and I know that for a fact. But I can't remember any one of them. The only thing I remember in this past week is at work, someone was sitting on the radio and talking about, purgatory. But who cares, right? It's not like I'm thinking every single time I think of that, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. I'm not going to talk to them or be their friend. I'm going to give them a social outcast label because they did this. Who cares? So try these experiments. Try so many times, fail. There's another quote. I hear this a lot, and truthfully, when I saw it, like when I first started seeing it over and over and over again, I thought, this is a stupid quote. And like it was blown out of proportion. It was glazed, if you could say, your Gen Z vocabulary. But if you knew that you were only 10 failures away from achieving your goal, right? What is that? That is up to you. Your goal. You're from achieving your goal of fill in the blank. How fast would you fail? Now, I really want you to consider that. I didn't consider that, and I wish I did. And I hold that with way more, what's the word? Appreciation now. But truthfully, right, the only way to success is through failure. And that's where those experiments come in. But think to yourself, think these things before going in, and back to the topic of this video, you will never, ever, ever fail again. Number one, go into everything thinking, I either win or I gain experience and learn. Number 2, at the end of the day, you are a speck of dust. In all of humanity, you are a speck of dust. With that being said, what do you have to lose? If you don't do this one thing, if you fail this one time, what is it ever going to matter? You either win and get to your goal, whatever your goal is, or you do nothing, you continue to be nothing. And you, that speck of dust, in the grand scheme of humanity, drifts off like it would have anyways. But guess what? You still had that opportunity, you still had the chance to become something great, to learn, to actually leave an impact where it matters. Now, last thing, closing within this, if there is a closing. But just try, experiment, right? For me, myself, I wish I would have started in sales, because I believe I have an ineptness, I have a natural ability, a natural gift towards people, towards understanding people. I love understanding people. You know, as a kid, I was a crazy instigator, and I would bug people to the point where they would break, and I would always, like, I didn't realize it then, but going back, analyzing myself, right? There's another theme of that. Step back and honestly analyze yourself. Push people right to their breaking points. Now, that sounds really bad, but that's what I did as a kid. Like, I didn't know any better, but that's what I did, right? So I am naturally inclined to do so. And that's what Peter Drucker talks about. And the only way that you're going to find those the only way that you're going to find those strengths, right? You can only build upon strength. You cannot build upon weakness. Is if you experiment, right? Is if you try. And they don't have to be long experiments for you. If you can just step back, if you can analyze truly, and you don't want to quit. You don't want to quit too early, nor do you want to quit too long. Otherwise, it does become a failure. And that's where that's going to come in. But at the end of the day, you are the only person who knows yourself good enough. You are the only person who can formulate an accurate hypothesis on when it is a correct time to stop for you. And so try. You will, only positives will come out of it. Again, you try, you learn. You win or you learn. So go into every situation with that in mind. Go into every situation, the other things in mind that I just talked about, and you, my friend, will never, ever lose. Now that's it for today. I won't babble on anymore. But if you guys don't know me, if you're new to my channel, I'm trying to document every single day of my life, trying to build a positive and reputable personal brand. The things I learned, concepts I learned, things that happen with me that I want to share with other people to inspire them to be great and be the best version possible of themselves. So if you guys want to follow my journey, you can drop a subscribe. If you're wherever you're watching or listening to this on, subscribe to whatever that is. I'd be very, very thankful. With all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys gained some knowledge, some insight. Again, this isn't Liam Billick. This is the shoulders of giants that I'm standing on, right? Peter Drucker, David Buss, Pablo Picasso, Tai Lopez, everyone like that. But with all that being said, thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Above all, stay wise.